Good morning. Welcome to Elevate Your Business this week. Things go wrong for us at times, right? And we can feel like it's not all going to come together, and we can question whether or not we're making the right decisions. So that's what I want to focus with you on today is how do you stay connected to your vision for your business, for your life, when things are not going the way that you want them to. So for those of you that are new here, hi, I'm Joanne O'Halloran and I'm a business success coach for female coaches who want to gain consistent clients. So we always focus on the long term rather than the short term fixes, even though sometimes it will just be little tweaks. But when you've got a strategy built out that works for you and consistently brings in new clients, it's a winning game for sure. But today what we're going to do is we're going to focus on your vision and what happens when you're just struggling with it, right? Because like think about all the things that happen in life. Think about the things like that don't happen that we want to happen. So, it might be a case of you're like, oh my God, this feels like so much work right now. I'm putting in a lot of effort and I'm getting no return. It could be that things are happening at home and bills are coming in that you didn't foresee happening. It could be that you're still in a full-time job or even a part-time job and you can't seem to close the gap to make the transition to go into your job full-time or into your business full-time, sorry. Or it could be a case of that there's just moving pieces in life that are happening right now and your focus has shifted away from your vision, but it's still there, but things are just not going the way that you wanted them to. So I want to walk you through today different things that you can do to stay connected to your vision when things are not going according to plan. And the first thing that I want to start off by saying is things never go according to plan. So if you have any expectations around how things should look, how things should be, that is a very first place that you get to go to and release that. Because once we are attached to the outcomes of things, once we're attached to how things are going to go, once we're attached to different ways that we want things to look, we're actually stopping ourselves. Talk about things not going according to plan. The telly decided to turn on here beside me, so hold on there 1 second. And this is real life, right? Does this distract me then from what I'm doing with you guys? No, it doesn't, but it is part of real life, right? Things happen that we never thought were going to happen. Things turn up that we didn't think were going to turn up. And we can get caught up in the things that aren't going right and then forget about what we're doing, what we're creating, and where we're going. And this was actually a brilliant example of a very small example, but a brilliant example. So I want you to think about what you're setting yourself up with in terms of expectations. What expectations have you set out for yourself? And then what is that causing to you internally when they don't happen? So I remember one of my mentors, Rex Crane, and I think I might have shared this with you before, saying he was a good few weeks, actually it was during the summer because I remember I was in a t-shirt when I shared it, but he was talking about how he doesn't actually set up goals for himself. Does he have deadlines and things that he wants to accomplish? Absolutely. But what he focuses on is who he becomes. So what parts of like his ways of being does he want to improve by the end of the year? So it could be that he wants to have a greater connection with his family. It could be that he wants to have more intimate relationships with people. He wants to be more loving, like those kind of things. He wants to be more generous, authoritative, courageous, whatever it is. And that's where he focuses on, because what he said, and I think it's really interesting and something that I've got super curious about, is when we set up a goal for ourselves, like a real tangible goal. So say, for example, 10K months. What happens then when they don't happen instantly? Self-doubt creeps in, right? All the reasons why it isn't working, why it can't work, why it won't work, and everything that you believe is causing that gets amplified, gets made much bigger than what it is, even though nothing has really changed, right? So if you're going to be focused on a tangible goal, but it's very far out of reach, if you focus on who you need to become in order to reach that, that is a much better use of your time, because it's consistent, it's flowy, and it's working in alignment with yourself. Because when our goals are not reached, when we're calling our vision in, when we want to make things happen, it does matter how we show up, right? It's not about just doing tasks, but it's how we are within the tasks. And like if you look at somebody who I'll give you a practical example. So I was having conversations with clients this week. They're creating different things, right? So some of them are they're generating their audience, others are going into sales modes. A lot of them are in the Black Friday offers right now. So they're at different stages, but how they show up makes a difference. People get different results for different reasons. So, for example, I could absolutely, and I have done, given you the strategy to create a Black Friday offer, but people get different results with it. Now, we may blame the size of our audience, that, you know, either we felt it was priced too high or too low. Nobody was going to buy it anyway, right? We can pull lots of different things, but none of that is true. It's who we are and how we show up in it that matters. So rather than having an expectation of things going a certain way, check in with yourself and go, what way do I need to show up? Who do I need to be? How do I get to be in order to call in what I want? And when you let go of the expectations and you sit into your ways of being, it changes things completely, because you start to flow an awful lot more. You're much more intentional about what you're doing, and you're not just doing something to do something. There's an intention with it, and you know what way you have to be to do it. So if I take my own business, for example, when I'm going into like an audience build, so I want to add more people into my audience, right? So that means from my social media into my email list, right? So I want to add more people. How I show up is completely different than what being in sales looks like, because it's a different level of urgency, energy, and all of that goes with it. It's completely different than when you're building an audience. And I need to focus on different ways of myself in that. So like, you know, when I'm in sales, come really naturally to me now. They didn't always, but they do now. So I don't need courage when I'm in sales. I don't need to tap into my courage, because it's naturally there, because I'm comfortable with it. I enjoy it. But when I'm building my audience, because I go bigger each time, my level of courage needs to be different. I need to step into that and really concentrate on that, right? And concentrate on intimacy and connection and being loving and nurturing and all those beautiful things. When I'm in sales mode, courage is already in there, but my ways of being is my tenacity, my rigor, vulnerability. All of them need to be tapped into when I'm in a sales process. So think about that for you. What ways do you think about whatever your vision is? What ways do you need to show up to make that happen? Because, like I said, business is not straight. There's always going to be things don't go according to plan. Of course they don't. Nothing ever goes according to plan. But when we know that, it's who we are in that. It's like, do we see things as a problem, or are we always solution focused? You always want to be solution focused rather than sitting in the problem, giving out about the problem, focusing on the problem being a problem, and adding on more problems to it, right? You always want to be solution focused. So let's add on a next layer to this, because you want to keep in the momentum of moving forward, and it's very easy to get stuck. Now, there's going to be times where you slow down for sure, but you still want to keep moving forward. And that moving forward can look like spending time on you, with you, about you, and resetting you. It can also be about spending time in your business, on your business, around your business, right? But if I've learned anything in the last 3 years is, if I do not look after myself first, I will not create anything. And I mean nothing. So what do I mean by that? If I do not follow through on my daily routine, if I do not look after my food intake, if I do not make sure that I have fresh air every single solitary day, I've got a dog, so he gets to be walked every day. But if that's not a focus for me, everything else falls apart, because I'm putting everybody else's needs before my own. So when you're thinking about going toward your vision and things that aren't going right now, where's your focus going? Are you still looking after you? Are you still looking after, you know, your needs? So like your sleep, your food, your like your mind, your body, all of those pieces, are you still looking after them? And if not, you definitely get to start there. It's really important to do that, because consistency is everything. It's one thing getting knocked off course, but it's another thing choosing to not be consistent and choosing to let everything fall by the wayside. I think one of the greatest examples I ever heard was, if somebody's on a diet And then they go to the fridge and there's a cake there and they don't just eat one piece of cake. They eat the whole cake. Why? Because they've decided after eating one piece of cake, well, that's it. Everything's gone awry. Therefore, I'm just going to go all in. That's the wrong attitude to have, and it's the wrong way to be going all in. We want to go all in all the other ways. The next thing that you want to do is have a look and see, well, what decisions have you been avoiding? This is always a game changer, because there's always decisions that we are avoiding. So there'll be things that are running in our mind, like there's stories that we tell ourselves, there's scenarios that we will go over and over and over and over and over again with, but we don't actually do anything about them. So there's decisions in there that are preventing you from having that peace, from having that calm, and you just won't make them. It doesn't matter what other stories or excuses you put around them, but you're not making them. Are you willing to let go of those excuses? Are you willing to let go of those reasons so that you can feel that calm and peace and go back to where your focus is? If your answer is no, then you've got to accept that that's the way things are. We always operate on awareness, acceptance, and action. So the first thing is bringing awareness to what's not working. Also bring awareness to what is working. And then what do we need to accept within that? So do we need to accept that we're trying to be right? Do you need to accept that the way that you're currently doing it isn't working? Do you need to accept that you need help? Do you need to accept that you need support? How many women here are like, nope, I get to do it all by myself. My mother did it, therefore I can do it. My sister did it, therefore I can do it. Lone wolfing is one of the biggest problems that there is. And we expect to have something before we can do something else. And we put all these expectations on ourselves, going back to what I was saying originally. We put all these expectations on ourselves that impact what we have in front of us, impact our new reality that we're trying to create. So I want you to go back and think about those stories that are running around in your head. What are the scenarios that you're going over and over and over and over with that are not working? So it could be that there's a lot of bills to pay. It could be that there's no clients coming in. It could be that anytime you make a sale, people back out. Whatever those stories are that are running around. It could be that I've been in business for a year and I've made no money. Whatever the story is, within that, what decision are you avoiding? What is the decision that if you made it right now would calm your mind, would give you peace, and would help you get what you want? And then ask yourself, are you willing to make it? And if not, then you have got to accept that nothing is going to change, because that's what you're choosing. The pathway to success is not always ones that like don't have like horn pricks or, you know, like stumps, or we don't have like, we're not going to fall down. Like it doesn't work like that, because there's so many learnings, because it's how we show up, it's where we make decisions, the habits that we have, the passions that we have, that determine our level of success. And each time we up level, and each time we make that decision that feels super uncomfortable at the time, but we can see that it's given us exactly what we want, the more we make of them, the more you will see success and you will see results. And then the last one then is, where energetically is your space being invaded right now? So I'm going to give you a very clear example for me. When my last relationship ended, my home, I was even going to say the home, my home didn't have a nice feeling about it. Not because there was memories there. Well, partly because there was memories, but there was also things that it didn't feel like my home anymore, because there was things that were broken in it. There was, you know, just things that had been lovely before that person was there were no longer lovely, and it felt off. I didn't really want to be there. I didn't feel creative when I was in there. I just didn't feel like it was my home. So energetically, I was knocked off completely. And I kept thinking like, I just need a new home. Or actually, I'll be honest with you, what was going through my mind was, I need a new home. And then I was like, I can't afford a new home. And then I was like, I can't afford to paint the place. How am I going to do that? I have to work. Right, all the reasons why. My uncle decided, I was telling my uncle, I was like, oh, I really need to get my house painted. I was like, you know, it just doesn't feel right. I was like, there's like dents in the wall and all those things. And he was like, I'll come down and do it for you. And I said to him, I was like, I can't afford to pay. And he was like, it doesn't matter. He's like, I'm going to come down and do it for you. He spent 3 days in my house and painted the entire house for me. Something so simple, and me being able to receive from somebody else, cleared my space. So energetically, it was an instant shift for me. I no longer felt that yuckiness. I no longer felt that unease. I felt really comfortable. It was my home again. And then from there, it built on where I got an office and all those different things. But you get to have a look at that too. Where is there energetic nuances in your space that aren't working for you? Because if you're in a space that's yucky, it's chaotic, it doesn't feel good, you're not going to operate from being really calm and centered. You're going to operate from a place of chaos, and nothing good ever comes from that. But there's always little simple things that we can do, and it's something got to do with feng shui, nothing like that. If you're into that, that's totally fine. But it's what feels good. So like that example, my home didn't feel like my home anymore, because it just, all the things that I loved about it, they were no longer there. So what could I do now to make it a clean space? We literally got a skip and we emptied out the entire house. Like, we just cleared out stuff. We broke up couches, which was very therapeutic, by the way. Broke up couches and just got rid of so much stuff out of it. And it just was. And let me even tell you this, where I am now, I'm in Robertson Mayo. And when I'm down here, because it's just countryside, every which way I look, doesn't matter what window I look out of, because I'm surrounded by windows right now. We only have this little space here with the wall, but everything else is windows. When I look all around it, it's fields. Okay, sister's house, fields, trees. There's like valleys, there's sheep over there, there's some cows over there. You know, it's just wide open. You go outside and you just take in a big deep breath, and it's fabulous. Why am I sharing that with you? Because when I started coming down here and started spending time here in openness, in tranquility, in peace, my sales started going through the roof. Like, literally started going through the roof. It was like, we were laughing one day because I was walking through the kitchen, which is just behind me here, and I have an Apple Watch, and my Apple Watch started like beeping, and it was like, payment has been received, payment has been received, payment has been received. And I was like, this is like so new. I haven't even had phone calls with these people. They're already booking in to work with me. I was like, oh my goodness. So your energetic space matters. So because here it's so tranquil and free and just open, and I can breathe and I'm happy, like, it's amazing. The same way when I changed my house and got it painted and just had space that was just for me, and like painted my bedroom, got rid of all the old bedclothes, like just simple things that didn't cost a lot but had a massive impact on me mattered. So look at your space energetically and see what you need to clear. This could be friendships too, by the way. Like, what do you need to clear? What do you need to remove yourself from? What do you need to add in? Mostly we don't need to add stuff in, we need to take stuff out, right? Because we want to cleanse it. But what do you need to do energetically so that you have a much nicer space around you? Your vision is your vision. You know where it is that you're headed. You know what it is that you're creating. You know where it is that you want to go. It is up to you, right? So the same way it's up to me to powerfully go towards it and be very aware of what I'm doing and how I'm being that isn't going to get me there. And then accept it. So there's no point me sitting in my stories or my excuses. And don't get me wrong, I have them. There's times where like it could take me a few days to work through the stories that are in my head, to even know that they're a story, that they're not true, they're not real. And what decisions am I avoiding making? And then take the action to move forward. And sometimes the action isn't comfortable because it's new. It requires me to do something that would naturally feel uncomfortable. So what I mean by that is, I don't mean do anything that goes against your morals, but I was very controlled. I was had very much a need to be right, like, as in I need to do things my way. And you know, even if you told me what to do, I was still going to do it my way because I wanted to do stuff that felt comfortable. I had to release that and be very aware that when something isn't going right, is it because I'm trying to control the situation? Is it because when I'm trying to control a situation, actually means I'm afraid? So what am I afraid of? What am I uncomfortable with? Then I'll always ask myself, what decision do I need to make to release that, first of all? And then what decision do I need to make to move forward? So that won't always feel comfortable, right? If you're natural, like, think about it as women. We've been taught to be independent women. Boom. We weren't really taught it in totality, though, what it means, right? So to be an independent woman means that we are resourceful, we're capable, and we're resourceful and we're capable, right? But what society has instilled into us for it to mean is that We don't need anybody. We've got to balance that out, right? Happiness comes from the inside, and we've got to love ourselves, be happy with ourselves, and feel that we are worthy. Absolutely. And we're human beings. We have emotions. We have an innate need to be with other humans. Even if you're an introvert like I am, we have a need to be with other humans, the same way we have a need to be on our own, right? And have time with ourselves. We have a need to be with other humans. We've got to marry up, and I don't mean as in physically go and get married, but I mean we've got to marry up with people and understand that relationships require both people to participate and be involved in, be included in, be intimate in, be connected in, be committed in, for any relationship to work. And I'm not even talking about romantic, I'm talking about our family relationships, our children's relationships. They've all got to marry up together. But if we're operating off what we've been told as an independent woman, that doesn't work, because it means that we don't need relationships, and then we find that we're lonely, and other things come into play then, that we get bitter, right? So this whole thing of lone wolfing has been instilled into us, but we've got to accept that it doesn't work, and we've got to accept that we need support in order to move forward. And that could look like a multiple different things. Like, support for me comes in multiple different ways. Harley giving me a hug in the morning, my dog, is support for me, because it's just, he's so happy in the morning, right? He's just so happy, and he just loves like coming up for cuddles in the morning. But that's a relationship too. So add all these pieces together. When you think of your vision and when things are not going right, add all these pieces in together, and know that just because you want it to happen does not mean it's going to happen. There's work involved in this, and most of the work is in here. It's inside of us, in our minds, in our bodies. That's where most of the work is. But work through these and let me know how you get on.